Welcome to this edition of Stream On. I'm Jim Williams, your host. And it is March Madness time. That's right. One of the best times of the entire sports year. You don't have to be a basketball fan. You don't have to be a fan of any specific college. You can just sit back and enjoy the madness. And I'll tell you, one of the interesting parts of March Madness is the storylines. And each year, as you know, things pop up, things that you didn't know about teams, that you didn't know about players. Some of these schools, a lot of people don't even know where they are. So one of the things that CBS and their partners, of course, at Turner Sports have done over the years is do their best to make sure that you get those stories, the backstories, the reason to care about March Madness. Well, part of that is one of the most entertaining segments and features that has been done by CBS. It's called NCAA March Madness Confidential. And basically what they do is they send production crews embedded with teams starting on Selection Sunday, and they chronicle their tournament journey, from game to game to game, what goes on, what's really going on behind the scenes. You get a chance to see the kids being kids. I mean, these are college kids. You get to see them doing all kinds of fun stuff. You get to see them as they study, as they work, as they dance, as they go everywhere and do everything in this very magical time of year. The teams that are involved this time around are Kentucky, Tennessee, Michigan, Nevada, University of Houston, Marquette, and Murray State. Okay? So, to tell us everything you always wanted to know about NCAA March Madness Confidential, we are joined today by Emilie Deutsch, the Vice President of Original Programming and Features at CBS Sports. And Emilie, I got to tell you, it's always fun to be involved with March Madness, and you guys really get into it.
It is really fun to be with these teams, and we really enjoy being able to embed with them for the tournament.
So you got Kentucky, Tennessee, Michigan, Houston, Nevada, Marquette, and Murray State. How did you guys come to pick those teams?
So it's a combination of things, as you can imagine. We have to obviously have teams that are willing to allow a camera crew with them, but also we try to get a geographical
bit of a mixture there, huh?
Right. We try to get teams from all across the country, and we also try to get teams in different conferences. And then, of course, the higher the potential seed of a team, the more chance we have of going farther with them. So that's part of the equation as well.
Well, I mean, with Kentucky and Tennessee and Michigan, you've got three of, pretty much the blue bloods of college basketball. Houston, Nevada, Marquette also have had great teams over the years. And Murray State's one of those major schools that always seems to show up in the tournament. So you've got a great cross-section.
Right. And Murray State this year, of course, has John Morant, and that's going to be tremendously exciting. So we're really glad to be with Murray State. And a lot of times the mid-majors are the ones that provide the most excitement, as you know. For instance, last year we started Selection Sunday with Loyola Chicago, having no idea that they would be making it all the way to the Final Four. That was really fun.
Well, that is, you hit it right on the head, and that is, it's the mid-majors, it's the surprises, who's going to be the Cinderella. I remember last year, of course, here in the, what we like to call the DMV, which is, the district, Virginia, Maryland, there was the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. You had UMBC making that first ever upset over Virginia.
Right.
So right. Of a 16 taken out of 1. So that's the beauty of the tournament. You just never know what's going to happen.
Right, exactly. And that's because the teams they play are outside their conferences, and they don't, they typically don't know them. They have very little time to scout them once they know where they're going. And it just provides tremendous excitement.
Well, not to steal the line, but, you only have to have that one shining moment to pull the upset.
Exactly. That's so true. And Loyola Chicago, boy, they had a lot of shining moments last year with their last second wins. And then of course Sister Jean in the stands, and the kids on that team were really fun. So that was great.
I got to imagine that there are a lot of colleges that were out there looking for nuns who were interested in becoming last minute fans there at the last, bringing any type of clergy that they could to follow Sister Jean and what she had going in at Loyola Chicago.
Right, exactly. And I wonder who Sister Jean has in her bracket this year.
I don't know, but those now that it's legal to bet in 7 states, I'm quite sure there are a lot of people reaching out to her.
Maybe so. Yeah.
So when you guys sit down and you do the embeds, I mean, we've all seen the outstanding work that Ross Greenberg and all the other guys have done in the past on these situations, but this is different. You really have, and you guys did an outstanding one not that long ago with, of course, the Navy and Army game and the background that we put into that and all the outstanding work that went into that great special. But this one is really condensed. I mean, you only have, in some cases, 1 week, 2 weeks, and, maybe 3 weeks tops to get all this information in. Right.
It is a project unlike, I can't even think of anything else in sports.
You could have said like any other. I mean, come on. I went with one shining moment, so you could give us. I think Jim Nance would let us go forth with like the Masters. It's a tournament like no other. So go ahead.
Right, Jim is resonating through this interview. So
that's fun. He's an old friend. So what the heck? Yeah.
But we start with the teams on Selection Sundays. So so our crews will travel with clothes that are they're going to work for Hartford, Connecticut, or San Jose, California.
Right.
1 year, we had a crew that went up to Buffalo for a regional. So and another crew that was down in Anaheim. So they really have no idea where they're going to be going. And we have crews of 4. We have 2 shooters, an editor, and a producer. And what makes this so unusual is the quick turnaround. So we'll shoot with the team during the day, and we'll turn around a piece that night. The editors often are up until 5, 6 in the morning, finishing the work and sending it back to New York. And then those pieces air on CBS and on Turner. They air on the digital platforms, CBSSports.com, or the NCAA. NCAA.com.
Right.
We'll have all the confidentials in one place this year. So they're very widely used.
Plus you get them on the social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and all that as well.
Right. And then the schools tweet them out too, and we put them on their platforms as well. And they love that. They love that also, that they can be involved with spreading that content to their fans.
Stream On will continue right after this from BMW, the i3, the ultimate electric driving machine.
Life is about making decisions. At BMW i, we decided it was time to reinvent the car from the ground up, making sure we were open for truly innovative ideas. We decided that the car we wanted must be electric, and it should be made of extremely light and super strong carbon fiber. And finally, we decided to make it more intelligent and added our promise of incomparable driving pleasure. We made all these decisions to offer you a choice. The all-electric BMW i3.
Stream On continues. It gives you an opportunity to get a lot of fun stuff that people just don't get to see, once you turn, go behind the curtain and see what goes on as teams prepare, not just for a game, but for, in many cases, what is a game of a lifetime for some of these people.
Right, definitely. And the teams are fun. They're singing and dancing, and I remember one year when we were with Miami, they set up a softball game in a ballroom, and they played softball in the ballroom at the hotel. They're always doing fun things, and they're college kids, so they're creative and they're enjoying themselves, and they really have a good time at the tournament. And we're so lucky to be behind the scenes with them to be able to document that.
Sounds like something Jim Larrañaga would do, playing softball.
Right, exactly.
That's keep the guys loose. But the other thing that you find is there are backstories that we don't know until these things pop up, and then all of a sudden these backstories become the reason that you suddenly we just talked about Sister Jean. Sister Jean is someone who became a pop culture icon for a few weeks there, and there were people who suddenly latched on to Loyola Chicago and were rooting for them that had absolutely no rooting interest in them prior to the tournament.
Right, definitely. And this was always the philosophy of the founder of sports television, Roone Arledge.
Right.
And I grew up at ABC Sports, and I really understand that philosophy that even if you're not necessarily a fan, once you get to know the stories behind the athlete, then you can become a fan. You can create fans that way. And that's absolutely what happens with the Confidential cruise. Absolutely.
And, Emilie, the thing, myself, also part of the old alumni of ABC Sports and, the up close and personal stuff that was done. I mean, that's what made Wide World. And, of course, Sean McManus's father, Jim McKay, the face of Wide World of Sports. It was often those stories. No one knew anything about Nadia Comaneci until suddenly we did. And, there were these stories that came out that made you want to really invest your time in the game. And it really at that point didn't matter as much who won the game as much as the fact that you were watching and connecting to a personality.
Yes, that's so true. And nobody understands that better than Sean McManus, of course, who is the chairman of CBS Sports. And I worked a lot with Jim McKay. And I was on the Olympic unit that did those profiles.
Right.
And it's really true. In the beginning, when they brought downhill skiing to the American market, people in America didn't know really anything about that sport. Most people. And they were able to get people interested by telling those stories. So we're still doing that to this day.
Jean-Claude Keely, what a name, huh? Remember the downhill, winning the Olympics in I was thinking it was 68 Winter Games when he won the gold medal and nobody saw it because it was so foggy and so terrible.
Oh, that's right.
It was that. But Jim McKay was brilliant at telling stories, and it would, of course, serve well that Sean has never missed the ability to make certain that CBS is a fantastic storytelling organization, but you also have fantastic storytellers like we just were joking a little bit earlier about Jim Nance. Jim is a brilliant storyteller, and you've got plenty of them on that staff.
Right. And really, that's what sports television is all about. Whether you're watching a game and they're telling you the story of the game, or whether you're watching a documentary, or whether you're watching a feature piece, or whether you're watching one of these minute-and-a-half confidential pieces. It really is all about the story. Right.
And look, there's very few sports in this country. Actually, I'm not certain that there is a sport in this country, or an event in this country, I should say, that captures the country any more than the NCAA college basketball tournament. I mean, each year that, for 4 weeks, everybody in the country is watching the games and paying attention, whether you're a college basketball fan or not. It really doesn't matter.
Right. It's a very unifying event. And people are watching at work. Of course, it starts at noon on, the first weekend, Thursday, Friday. And people are really bonding over, over watching the tournament. And I think what you mentioned earlier, the fact that it's unpredictable just means that you have to watch. And now that that every game is available across the networks of Turner and CBS, you can watch everything. It's really fun. So.
Well, you've got tremendous talent in the blended crews of the two organizations, the Turner Sports people, and of course the folks at CBS. all of whom do an outstanding job, and all the way from the producers, directors, and talent that do the games to the folks who do the studio crews, which are always fun. So it keeps everybody busy.
And this year we're actually doing a special. We have a documentary series called Four Sides of the Story. Mm-hmm. And we're doing a special on the first round of the NCAA tournament. This show airs on April 7th, which is the Sunday between the Final Four and the national championship game. Mm-hmm. And we'll take it's a 4-segment show, and each segment has a different perspective on the beginning of the tournament. Mm-hmm. So we'll have the perspective of the NCAA, we'll have the perspective of the broadcast networks, both the remote and studio part. We'll have the perspective of team managers from Nevada, and we'll have the perspective of students who are traveling to the game. And we're going to hopefully be with Gardner Webb when they take their bus to Columbia, South Carolina, to watch their team play for the very first time ever in the tournament.
Wow, that'll be fun. And heaven knows those poor managers, my gosh.
Right. And
go ahead, I'm sorry.
For Nevada, they do everything. They watch film, and they clip film, they do the laundry, they sew on the NCAA patches, they load the plane, they do everything.
I'll tell you, that is going to be interesting, because I will say that one of the most interesting things or stories that came out of some of these NCAA tournaments and other things came about the time when the Michigan manager accidentally forgot that he left the coach's game clothing back at the hotel, and had to rush back, and had 20 minutes to get there and get back before the coach realized he didn't have his specific game outfit that he wanted to wear. So yes, folks, it's the behind the scenes stuff that more often than not is just as entertaining sometimes as the game.
Right. Definitely. Yeah.
Well, Emilie, I know that you've got to be going. I thank you so very much for joining us. And, anything, I'm going to give you a quick plug. Anything you want to plug for CBS Sports and what we should be watching this week? Because I know everybody's going to want to see it.
And then Thursday through Sunday, of course, the first and second rounds on CBS and all the Turner networks. And then as you're watching those shows, you'll see these confidential pieces, and you can also go online and find them. And then be sure to tune in for the documentary, which will be on, like I said, on April 7th.
So special thanks to Emilie Deutsch, Vice President of Original Programming and Features at CBS Sports, for her outstanding work, and her team. What they do with NCAA March Madness Confidential is outstanding. Be sure to check it out. We'll have all that information on where to find it in our show box. More on Stream On right after this from BMW i3, the ultimate electric driving machine.
Life is about making decisions. At BMW i, we decided it was time to reinvent the car from the ground up, making sure we were open for truly innovative ideas. We decided that the car we wanted must be electric, and it should be made of extremely light and super strong carbon fiber. And finally, we decided to make it more intelligent and added our promise of incomparable driving pleasure. We made all these decisions to offer you a choice. The all-electric BMW i3.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, if you've not, been one of the over 50,000 people to have subscribed to the podcast, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, we make it simple. It is free. You can find us at iTunes. That's right. We're part of the Apple Podcast family. Same thing happens if you go to Google Play. We're part of the Google Podcast family. You can find us on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, as well as TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, to name a few. Now, if for some reason you can't find us, pull out the old Google machine, type in Stream On with Jim Williams, hit the favorite button or the subscribe button, and each week you get a brand new edition of the podcast sent directly to your tablet, your phone, or to hopefully both, okay? Now, if you have an assistant device like Alexa or one of the Google assistants, or the Apple assistants, which of course answer to the name of Siri, you can say, hey, Siri or Google or Alexa, please play the latest edition of Stream On with Jim Williams, and guess what? They'll do it for you. So, folks, we can't make it any simpler for you to subscribe to the podcast. Please go out and subscribe today if you haven't already done so. Okay? All right. So, special thanks to our guest this week, Emilie Deutsch, Vice President of Original Programming and Features at CBS Sports, for joining us. And by all means, check out NCAA March Madness Confidential. It really is an outstanding series, and all the information is in our show box. That way you can follow it. And by all means, highly recommend that you do as you enjoy March Madness. And trust me, folks, there's a great opportunity to have a lot of fun this weekend. Just sit back, watch basketball, and enjoy it, okay? All right, what's going to happen next week? Well, we got a surprise for you. Yep. We have the cast of Queens of Mystery, which is a new show that's going to drop on April the 4th on Acorn TV. A lot of fun, great cast, super people, and can't wait to share that with you. So that's coming next week. The cast of Queens of Mystery will join us. We sat down, had a great time. It was a lot of fun, folks, and you're going to enjoy that show, guarantee. Okay? So that's this week's edition of Stream On with Jim Williams. For our entire team here and everyone, we want to thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week when we talk about the Queens of Mystery. And please have a wonderful and safe weekend. Enjoy basketball on CBS, TNT, TBS, True TV, NCAA.com, and all of the platforms that it's on. Take it with you. There's no reason you can't follow the madness, all right? See you next week right here on Stream On. I'm Jim Williams. Until then, have a wonderful week.